Welcome to Life Rebounding. I want to continue to reflect on the line from Margaret Self's book, Inner Compass, where she says, "How I am, however broken, is a place of grace." And as we think about that today, I want to reflect further on John chapter 5, verse 6, where Jesus comes to the man who has been lame for 38 years, lying by the pool of Siloam, hoping for that moment when the waters are tickled by the angels and the first one into the pool gets the healing. Jesus comes along that day and he finds him and he asks a very interesting question. The question is, do you want to get well? That's an interesting question to me because one of the struggles that we have in our lives sometimes is what we're prepared to do to get the thing that we need the most. Now, let me qualify that a little bit. I think it has to do with desperation. I've been a pastor a long time, and one of the things that I've often found is that churches say that they need to do something, want to do something, but they really don't have the desperation level to do what they need to do to have the kind of ministry that they'd like to have. And the same is true of individuals. We know what we want to do, know what we need to do, but there isn't that level of desperation often. I call it the kiss the lobster syndrome. You have to be desperate enough to want to kiss the lobster if that's what it takes to get better, to get well, to get whole. And that's really the question that Jesus is asking here with this man who's been lame for 38 years. Do you want to get well? What's your level of desperation? The thing about the question is, it recognizes, I think, that there are times in our lives when the honest answer to that question is no, because sometimes our pain, past or present, dulls our desire for wholeness, and it can, even in a worst case scenario, it can actually become such a part of our identity that we don't want to give it up. That's who we are. We're sick, we're invalid, and it works for us. We get something out of it. I know people who are sick, and it works for them because it keeps family, it keeps friends close to them and doing their bidding. So the question is very real for us. How desperate are we to get well? How desperate are we to do the things that we need to do to be more complete people, more whole people? And Jesus requires an honest answer from us about that. I know there came a point in my life when I was dealing with some of my history and some of the baggage from the past, and I had to answer that question for myself. A friend named Ann was working with me on some of my issues, and as she was praying for me, one of the things that she felt led to point out to me is that I had never chosen to live. Now, that may sound like a strange thing because you get born whether you choose to or not, but because of the issues I'd struggled with of abandonment and so on, I was always only one bump away from wanting the opposite, of choosing the opposite. And I realized that because of those issues, not knowing if I belonged, not knowing what my place was at the table wherever I was, and wondering really at times if anybody really cared, because I was always that one bump away from choosing not to live, that was a very real question. And it was, are you prepared, are you desperate enough to kiss the lobster? And at that point where I said, yes, I am, and said, yes, I choose to live, it was a transformative moment in my life where so much of this garbage really just became a non-factor now. I chose to live because I could do that with Jesus Christ as my Savior and walk with Him the rest of my life. It was such a significant day for me. The change was so pronounced that it became my new birthday. And that may sound a little bit strange, but that's how significant that day was for me when I chose to live. So those are real questions for us. Do you want to get well? Are you desperate enough to do the things that you need to do to become a well person, to become a whole person? And I dare say that Jesus might very well be coming to you today and asking that same question. Whatever the issues are that you're struggling with in your life, Do you want to get well? Do you have that level of desperation that you're willing to kiss the lobster, as it were, to become whole, to meet Jesus in those places of pain and find that He's a very present help in those times of trouble? Can I invite you to picture Him coming towards you today, just as He did to that man at the pool by Bethsaida, and hear Him ask you this question: do you want to get well? Or maybe let me put the question another way. This is a question He also asks later on in another story. He says, what do you want? If you can put into one sentence what it is that you want, turn that into a prayer today with Jesus. Say it to Him as many times over the course of the day as you can take that breath. Put it in one breath. Lord, this is what I want really more than anything else. It might be just to draw closer to Him. It might be a prayer for family or friends. But put that request into one sentence and turn it into a prayer. And may the Lord bring grace and strength to your life. And may you today choose life.